All right, what you need in the building? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing well. And we're going to talk about some boxing. We're actually going to talk about various topics. So I'll try to get that to you guys now. Um, we'll talk a couple, play a little catch up with boxing, some of the current events and stuff that's going on. So we'll look at potential fights, um, and we'll also look at the past boxers, the past generation, and the present. And then we'll look at America's position right now in the world and at this juncture, this critical juncture in their democracy. We'll talk a little bit about that. So we're going to go into these topics. Now, you feel free to jump on here, jump on this stream. I know it's a spontaneous stream. Nobody was notified about it, but if you come across this, it'd be great. You can jump on the screen at any time you want to and join in the discussion that we have here. You can join in the discussion, and we will talk some. Uh, we'll talk some boxing with you, and we'll see how it goes. All right. So I don't want to use my headphones this time. Okay. So we're talking boxing. We're going to talk about the potential fights that possibly could come up, and you guys can list some of those potential fights that you think are interesting. Don't feel free to also comment in the stream section. Let's get it moving. So first of all, we're talking about some of the potential matchups that could happen this year. Some of the anticipated matchups that we hear about, and I'm pretty sure that will happen this year, is Ryan Garcia versus Javante Tank Davis. That's a hot fight, a hot number. That's one that I'm looking forward to seeing. It may not happen the next fight, it may not be the next immediate fight, but I'm pretty sure maybe September this year, depending on how COVID goes and everything. Um, we will be seeing this fight. So let's hear your point of view on that potential fight of Ryan Garcia versus Javante Tank Davis. That's a good one, and obviously would like to hear what you guys think about that. What's your thoughts on Ryan Garcia versus Tank King Rye versus Tank? You know, what do you guys think about that? And I think that that would be a great matchup. Now, if Ryan Garcia could get a fight before he faces Tank, that would be even better. Face maybe Jorge Linares, for example. And while Tank maybe faces, I don't know, there's a lot of guys out there at a lightweight that he could face. And Lomachenko be calling him out, for example. Uh, you got a guy that was in his camp, Robert Easter Jr. You got Shakur Stevenson. It's a top ranked fighter, so I don't know how easy that'll be to make, but where there's a will, there's a way. Um, there's also uh, this Burchelt, the winner of Burchelt, and the Mexican kid, which I can't remember his name right now at the top of my head, but that would be a nice matchup as well. So there's some fights there for Tank. Shakur Stevenson versus Tank would be a good fight, though. Be a great fight. But as we said that, maybe Shakur Stevenson versus Lomachenko is another potential matchup that would be an interesting one for us to see. Whether that would come to the fore, where we see that, that's another story. Just trying to cover through these things really quick. Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield, that's a good fight. We could talk about Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua, those two fights happening this year. And I do believe they're arbitrating Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder in a court case. I also think another really good fight this year. I would love to see Artur Beterbiev face Dmitry Bivol. That would be a great fight for this year as well. Some other potential upcoming fights we could talk about: Errol Spence, of course, versus Terrence Crawford, probably later on in the year. Maybe Errol Spence faces somebody presently, and then Terrence Crawford faces somebody presently. I do believe Sean Porter is not going to be facing Terrence Crawford because Bob Arum's lowballing, and we heard Keith Thurman going on Bob Arum about lowballing fighters. And I guess Terrence Crawford will be leaving soon. Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney. That's a really great fight. That's a really nicely anticipated fight. I would look forward to seeing. Don't forget, you guys can suggest some fights that you would like to see. I know some guys will talk about the lower weight classes. We know that Roman Gonzalez will be rematching Juan Francisco Estrada. So that's another fight to stay tuned for, look out for. I would love to see Billy Joe Saunders face Demetrius Andrade. They're in talks, so hopefully they can get that fight nailed down. Another fight there's a lot of interesting fights out there, but another really good fight that I would love to see. And we hearing talks about it. It may be Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence, because Manny Pacquiao is saying Errol Spence is slow. It looks like Manny Pacquiao might face Conor McGregor, but really, the appetizer would be Pacquiao versus Spence. I don't know if it'll happen, but that's also another good, desirable fight. Dennis Ugas versus, you could name it. You could name who you want to name. Ugas versus any one of those guys, whether it's Jerome Ennis to Virgil Ortiz. He's calling out Sean Porter. Or was it Sean Porter or was it Keith Thurman? I can't remember. I can't remember. I think it was Sean Porter. Virgil Ortiz wants to face Sean Porter. I think Jerome Ennis versus, for example, Dennis Ugas would be a very good fight. That would be nice. That's a nice matchup, I think. Of course, upcoming is Angelo Leo versus Fulton, Steve Fulton. I would love to see that fight, Stephen Fulton. I would love to see that fight. Looking forward to it. That's a highly anticipated fight in the featherweight division, so I'm looking forward to that. Gary Russell Jr. versus Leo Santa Cruz, or Gary Russell Jr. versus Miguel Berchelt. I know Berchelt's right now going to be facing the Golden Boy kid. I can't remember his name. That's a good fight, though. These are all good fights. Canelo, of course. Everybody wants to see Canelo versus Charlo. I really want to see Canelo versus the winner of Demetrius Andrade and Billy Joe Saunders. That's really really the fight I want to see, because a lot of people want to see Canelo versus Caleb Plant or David Benavidez, but I'm really more interested in seeing him because I know the quality, the status, the class, the skill set, the versatility of like a Demetrius Andrade or Billy Joe Saunders. I think that's the tougher matchup than those other two that people mentioned. Now, of course, they talk about Jamal Charlo, who's not even at 168, so I don't really want to. But those would be good matchups again for us to see. I personally think that I would also like to see not just Canelo, but I would like to see those guys rumble. So like Jamal Charlo versus, for example, Chris Eubank Jr. or Chris Eubank Jr. versus, say, Danny Jacobs. A Triple G versus like a Jamal Charlo, or Triple G versus Demetrius Andrade, or Triple G versus I think that's about it. And there's a vacancy at the WBA middleweight level. So who knows? That may be a place for one of those guys, maybe Jamal Charlo or maybe Demetrius Andrade to catch up a belt. So that would be good. Let me move on to this. So there's a bunch of potential fights, and you guys can just say what potential fights you would like to look forward to. I don't want to take too much time on this video. Past versus present. Okay, so I've talked about this in a lot of detail, and I want to go into there because on the forums it's just lit. Like everybody just keep on talking about Floyd Mayweather all the time, but I want to talk more about just one quick point, and that's it. It has nothing to do with Floyd right now, even though it does. But a lot of times people focus on past fighters, and when they talk about past fighters, they don't realize how much a particular play or a particular move has developed. Now, I just want to talk about the evolution, for example, of the Philly shell. The Philly shell was implemented back in the day where guys, they roll punches some, they roll punches somewhat, and they were able to kind of slip punches because the head's off center line. One of the things a lot of people never realized was that guys who were using the shell, um, they really didn't afford the proper positioning, how they use the shell. Different people position themselves differently with their bodies when using the shell. Take, for instance, Georgie Benton. He would lean way back and he would weave. So he wasn't just riding the punches, he wasn't just rolling the punches, but he was also a weaver. So you can use the shell and weave your body different directions. Take, for instance, James Toney, another bobbin weaver, and he would slip and slide at the same time, and he would pivot. So you could use the shell and use your footwork, and that would give the shell even more, um, um, uh, you know, more efficiency, more effectiveness. Jalik the leader says, "What's good, bro? What's good, Jalik? Jalik, all right, man. It's good to see you, brother." I think that every single generation that uses the shell adds something more to it. I will skip Floyd's generation. I will talk about let's talk about this present generation. You look at the Teofimo Lopez's, you look at the Devin Haney's, you look at the Ryan Garcias and so on, right? The younger generations, they not only incorporate the shell with the high guard, but they can use the shell not only going forward or moving backwards, but they tend to also use the shell on pivots. Even Manny Pacquiao sort of uses the shell off a pivot every now and then. Pacquiao mostly a guy that comes out behind his high guard and then he switches to the shell and then he goes back. Lots of boxers use the shell. Teofimo Lopez exclusively uses the shell, which is why he gets popped upside the head. You can't just or even if you're going to exclusively use the shell. Hollywood Ingram says, "What's good? I'm cool, man." Jalik the leader says, "I'm going to jump in a minute if you don't mind." Hey, man, do your thing, brother. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. I'm not going to take too long on here, though. So if you're going to jump in, please jump in pretty quickly. So, people don't realize that, like, just even with the so-called Philly shell or the shell or the Michigan shell defense, whichever you want to call it, there's just different ways. There's just slightly different things people do using the shell, and shell is just as you know, it's a sort of stance. It's a sort of defensive stance, right? To deflect punches. That's what the shell is, and then you can counter off of your deflections. Instead of catching and parrying punches, you could use the shoulder. But there's several different ways people utilize this. There's several different ways that people actually have evolved it so that it could be used in such a manner. Like today, the shell is part. Oh, okay. Yeah, the shell is part and parcel of defense, but most people have other things that they can back up to use with it. And in addition, what's beautiful about it is when it's an option A, option B, you can give fighters different looks coming in. And that's something that I'm not saying old school fighters didn't do that, but most old school fighters more depended on, the fundamentals, so that in a way they were somewhat basic, but they were really fundamentally sound. So you wouldn't see a fighter giving another fighter different looks. You wouldn't see I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. And this goes for Sugar Ray Leonard as well. They didn't know about this stuff. Okay. And I'm not saying that those guys weren't good, but it's just that there's an evolution to it. So, for example, if I'm here and I'm peeping in here with the peekaboo, right? And then I may change my look and decide, okay, I'm going to come at you like this, right? I might come at you like this, right? And then I might change it up and I might just do like this, or it might be like this, right? So there's all these little tricks, going from, and that you see the younger fighters doing that kind of stuff. And the other thing that I think is also good, the older fighters, they tended still, even though they were very skilled, they, roll in, roll out, you know, uh, not so much of a swivel, but they would dip and get out of the way punches, use the shell to sort of protect with the shoulder and pivot, but not as people say it's athleticism, but it's actually a lot more boxing going on where guys are actually using their footwork. So the basic roll in, roll out, roll to the side, roll inside, roll outside, right? That basic stuff that you learn and you perfect, The younger fighters have taken it to a whole other level where they come in off of angles now. You slide in off an angle, maybe a 45-degree angle. You slide in. You may throw a leaping left hook off of an angle. And I'm not saying that guys like Floyd Patterson and all these guys back in the day didn't do some of those things too, but the way how it's executed, because a leaping left hook, there's several different ways to throw a leaping left hook. You could throw it from the ground up, which would be like a bowler punch. You could throw the leaping left hook as a short hook that you pivot as you land. You pivot on it as you reach impact. It depends on the range at which you're at. And you could throw it off of a jab. So you threw your jab and then leaping left hook right after it. So I'm just saying there's like a lot of variety that people have done over the years and perfected. And I look like Coach Eric Bradley, the fight doctor. I sort of done it in a sort of tutorial, but each individual will do it their own kind of way, of course, bring their own flavor to it. As you come into your own with your height, your size, and your reach, you'll do it a specific way for you. But in addition to that, there's like an evolution of it. Like it has changed over time. And guys have found more efficient ways to do it, much more accurate, sharp ways to do it, I gotta say. And I think that's what has made boxing a lot more, I think. Hollywood Ingram, what's up, man? I got a guest on the program. Let's hop him in. Jaleel in the building.
What's good, bro? I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm okay. I'm doing all right. And how about yourself?
I'm doing amazing. Whatchamacallit, Tommy told me about you yesterday. I said, let me check my man out. You just happen to be live. What's poppin'?
I'm cool, man. Tommy Temper?
Yeah, Tommy Temper told me about you. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, look, this is like a test out stream for today because I can't talk too much right now because I gotta get to step in. But I want to hear. Have you ever boxed before? First of all,
no.
Oh, okay.
Well, what's your question?
Well, the topic, as you can see, is past versus present, and I wanted to talk about how boxing has kind of evolved. And I don't think like a lot of fans are not really abreast of how much, because when you're not actually doing it, you don't understand like the actual process and how it has changed over time. So I wanted to kind of that's what I was talking about right now, about how it kind of evolved since the point we were talking. I was just talking about the shell itself, what they call the Philly shell or the Michigan shell defense, half guard. So I don't know what do you think about that? How it has changed, how people sort of use it differently, kind of as a consensus, like it has kind of changed in how people kind of use it over time. Have you?
Yeah, most of the current fighters, besides like Floyd and James Toney, they use it differently. They just look at Floyd and just move their shoulder and think that's how you do it. But if you know their defense don't be great, like Adrian Broner don't got great defense, and neither does Teofimo Lopez. They don't really got great defense.
So let me ask you this: what do you mean by Adrian Broner don't have great defense? What do you specifically? What do you mean by that?
Meaning that he's not using the Philly shell to the best of his advantage. He hasn't mastered it. Everything has levels to it. The degree, everything like has levels to it. So once you master it, then you can consider yourself as great defense. But if you just mocking it and putting your shoulder up and doing the mitts, a lot of people now is doing the mitts and making them look like they got great defense. But if you taking shot after shot and you don't know how to like control the distance and different things like that, then it's all about.
So it's not that he didn't master the shell. He probably mastered the shell, but he doesn't do distance control. So if you throw a 3, 4, 5 punch combination, he won't. When you step in, like Roger Mayweather would say, when you step in, he's supposed to take 2 steps back. He don't always do that. He just lean back like James Toney, and then you could catch him with something. You throw a 4 punch combination, you will catch him with something. It's not that his defense is not his shell defense is not bad. His shell defense is good, but the shell defense is good up to a point.
And that's levels. It's a big difference. Even in school, if you go to school, it's a difference between getting an A on your report card and a C plus.
Exactly.
So here's like a C plus or something. And Teofimo has great athleticism too. But one thing I wanted to point out, it's crazy you said that. I was looking at some Georgie Benton on YouTube, and one thing I noticed that he had great defense, but it wasn't. He knew how to position himself. But I think Floyd took it to another level because he done everything Georgie Benton did, and then he also added the footwork in there, and to be able to lose you using your feet. He was using a lot of upper body movement, similar to how Canelo added it to his game a little bit as well. But Canelo don't really have great footwork. But Georgie, thanks, bro.
Man, you said so much there. Let me unpack a little bit of what you just said. So one of the things that causes a fighter to freeze up is when they're confused about your offensive attack. And part of defense, shout out to Tommy Temper, man. Hey, yeah. One of the things that is defense that people don't talk about much is unpredictability of offense. Meaning a guy's feinting you, he's feinting you. So you're expecting something, then it's the feint is also a bait. So if I bait you, right? I'm feinting you. You say, oh, it's just a feint, and you go for it, and then you get countered, right? That will freeze you up, right? So part of, man, it's hard to unpack Floyd. That's why I don't like to talk about him too much because it's a lot to his game. But the fact of the matter is, that's what Canelo does as well. Canelo feints you, and then he's giving you different looks. When you have a dynamic, fluid defense, offense, it's hard to be predictable. Right. And that's the key with Canelo. Canelo, you know, he don't move that much, right?
No.
If you look, he just moving just little steps. But every time it looks like he stepped, sometimes he just stayed in position and looked like he moved forward, but he didn't move forward at all. It's a feint to see what you would do to get you out of position. So it's like, so that's the thing. And you know, in boxing, there's all these little subtle things at the highest level, how to feint so fluently, how to what's the word? Change up your looks. Changing up your looks is like key. And it's not just because I look at like this kid from the Mayweather boxing gym. What's his name? He got beat by Rougarou. Reggie Sprogray beat him recently.
Months ago, I forget his name. Rodrigo. I know you're talking about
Juan Herrera or something like that. Herrera's. Yeah, he do feints, but he do them mechanically. What I mean by that is he keep on trying to give you too many looks. Like you could overdo it and not be taken seriously, and the guy just timing you in the meantime. So it's like, you know, knowing the timing, knowing when something is appropriate for the situation, I think is a key thing in boxing. You know, why I don't talk too much about Floyd is because Floyd did it since he was a baby, so everything's kind of natural for him. Like boxing's just life and breathing. But when you look at like a guy like Canelo, who started around, I mean, his whole family was doing boxing. He's the last guy. But when you look at around 8, you could see the systematic way in which he was taught, and you can even look at his career and how he's developed over the course of his career, how these things could be applied and added to your career, even if you're not naturally God gifted or you didn't come from a whole family line where you just born in it and you was punching doorknobs and all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? So that's why I like to talk about him. But yeah, like you said, you know, the shell. I'm surprised you watched Georgie Benton. You know what's amazing to me though? You could apply the shell. And Floyd Mayweather Senior showed that actually. You could apply the shell with just minor movements of the shoulder. It's like it's not this big set of movements. Some guys do it, I guess, to entertain, but you don't have to move that much with your upper body, you know, depending on the distance you're at, of course, to actually apply the shell. Because the shell is everything's just right in your stance, right? You're off the center line, the shoulder just comes in, blocks the chin, and then you know you do what you want to. You counter. Once the guy deflects, once his hand deflects off and he kind of reaches in, then you can catch him with a counter right or a counter left, you know, as is necessary. So I find it really cool to talk about this because what you just said is Canelo. I mean, I don't think people appreciate boxing. That's the problem, Julio. You know, they don't appreciate the sweet science.
Yeah, I like watching the see science, but of course I like knockouts as well. But I like to be able to break guys down. I'm gonna tell you somebody that uses the Floyd shell. If I could say the best person that uses it besides Floyd, you know, because a lot of people is trying to use it. You know who Lionel Thompson is from Floyd's 175 guy? B. He uses it very well. He uses it very well. I went to the he was fighting somebody recently on a tank in the in a Gamboa fight. I went to the fight and I was like, bro, this guy actually knows how to use it effectively. And I was surprised. Because most people, Andre Berto tried to use it and he was getting hit with a lot of shots too. So once you master it, it's a great game because it also allows you not to conserve a lot of energy. Because one thing about Canelo, that's why I said the person that beat him is going to make him exert a lot of energy because Canelo is real efficient. We knew he had problems with stamina, but if he fights in an efficient way where he's manipulating everything, he's going to be in a position to always win. So you got to get him out of his comfort zone.
Right. And then the other thing, it's going to be harder now because Canelo stays in the gym all the time now. Like he's always in the gym now, all year round. So it's going to be very hard. He became a gym rat, and that's a problem. It's going to be a problem for a lot of people. And he's learning still a lot. He's learning a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? You know what was the problem with Callum Smith? Why he got his arm messed up like that?
Yeah, what happened?
I guess you don't know. You don't ever catch punches like that. You don't just square up and tighten up your guard. You always keep your guard relaxed to pick off the shot and to ride it. He didn't go with the punch to take the steam off the punch when Canelo's throwing those hooks. So that's why he got messed up like that.
So
because
no, I was saying
think about it. Yeah.
I got I got a question. What you go by? What you need? That's it. That's what you go by. Okay, let me ask you this. You sound like a historian. I want your breakdown on the body snatcher Mike McCollum because he got signs of that Philly shell. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he had a great chance against Hagler, Hearns, and Sugar Ray Leonard. Shout out to King. But break that down though, because he had some of that too.
You know, who's a guy that's underrated who's a heavyweight right now? Joe Joyce.
Oh, Pay attention to him. I like Joe Joyce, bro. I picked him to stop. I picked him to beat dude. I like Joe Joyce.
Yeah. Because he actually rides punches. He does like Mike McCallum. He'll go all the way back this way. He ride the punch. He thought he just got hit flush, but no, he rode the punch. He does get hit flush too, but yeah. So Mike McCallum is a beast. And he proved it. His career was, I mean, what was 154, 160, 175, right?
Yeah.
Three divisional world champion. At the age of 35, he fought James Toney and he got a draw. So, I mean, that's crazy. Right. You know, remember, 35 is not the same today as it is back then. So, I mean, no. Mike McCallum would outbox Marvin Hagler, I believe. That's just my thoughts.
I think he'd be.
I think he'd
knock Hearns too. I think he'd stop Hearns. I'm confident.
Yeah, he would stop Hearns. He would stop Hearns.
Yeah, I got him.
But Hearns never faced him. Remember, Hearns ducked him.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Stewart never fed it. Exactly. He didn't feed that boy to that boy. and Hearns called him the body snatcher. Hearns gave him that name.
Right. Yeah, that
should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, that's why I like guys to be able to reach their full potential. So hopefully, you know, guys that's in the current situation as him, because we know boxing is a popularity contest, you know, as far as like getting the fights and things like that. So a guy like Mike McCallum, he might not have was as popular, but he had that, and it's like, bro, he's just too risky because he can outbox you and he can knock you out, bro. So
yeah, and again, excuse me, well trained, you know, from Jamaica, and then Georgie Benton also was, you know, overseeing him, so. He really had that, and then he was in the Crunk gym. So, you know, he really had that full defense. He had a solid, robust defense. It wasn't nothing fancy. It wasn't nothing, you know, flashy. But man, it was solid. Like he was solid. He didn't have the special effects like they call it, but he was solid. You know, and you know, Mike McCallum that's one of my favorite fighters actually. Mike McCallum. If I could get more footage on Charlie Burley, I want to see more of Charlie Burley. That's one of my fighters as well. You've seen Charlie Burley fight, right? There's a little clip on
Charlie Burley. I heard. Of course, I heard his name, but sometimes it's
Google up Charlie Burley versus Oakland Billy Smith, and you'll see. And then you tell me what fighter he reminds you of.
I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, you should check out Charlie Burley. But he was another. Okay, so Mike McCallum never got knocked out or stopped. Charlie Burley never got knocked out or stopped. And we talking about they did like that. Charlie Burley had 90 something fights. Mike McCallum had 80 something fights. James Toney had, what was it, 90 something, 80 something fights, right? And these guys never got stopped. So that's why it shows you how good their defense was. And Mike McCallum at 40, I think he was 40 when he fought Roy Jones Jr. and Roy Jones Jr. still couldn't get him out of there.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So he was really good defensively, and of course Mike McCallum had a part to play in the development of Floyd. For those who don't know, he has a part to play in the development of Devin Haney as well.
Oh, Mike McCallum. I didn't know he had a part to play in Floyd. I didn't know that.
Well, you go to different gyms and you go under different people. Okay. I think what's his name? The trainer of Manny Pacquiao.
Freddie Roach.
Freddie Roach actually trained Floyd for a minute.
Okay, yeah.
In Wildcard Gym. Yeah, when Roger was in prison for either beating some woman or the
I know he went to the gym, but Freddie Roach trained under Eddie Futch. Eddie Futch was training all the fighters. Hopkins, he was training McCallum, all those guys. Yeah, he like the legend. Yeah. So I can see how you pick up different things from
different trainers.
I'm looking at the Burley fight. I don't know which one is Burley, but I see a guy dipping.
Burley's the red guy.
Because it's in black and white.
Yeah, he's the light skinned guy.
Oh, he light skinned guy. Okay, yeah, I see him evading some punches. Okay. Yeah,
again,
speed too. Yeah,
he can roll, and breaking him down is like it's crazy, and that's way back in the 40s.
Yeah,
40s, 30s. Yeah, part of Murderer's Row. Real cool dude. This is a guy that was ducked by every single world champion. Like nobody wanted to give him a championship fight. I mean, talking from 147 all the way up to light heavyweight. They ducked him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you fighting guys like he's not a sitting target. So to be able to hit him is gonna be you're gonna have to be on point. And you're gonna have to know how to cut the ring off.
So who does he remind you of?
He got a little bit of the way he evaded the punches so far. He got a little. He added a 50 shell, and who was his trainer?
Burley's trainer. I don't know. I should check that up.
From California. He from Oakland too. Okay.
He originally from Pittsburgh, same place with Paul Spadafora. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotta watch him more. Let me see.
Yeah, there's not much footage of him on YouTube, but you should check him out.
If he fighting at light heavyweight, he looked like a lightweight, bro. They was much back in the day.
He fought heavyweights as well.
Oh wow, he looks small, bro.
He's small.
I'm like, wow.
He's like the spirit of Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, them kind of guys. He's that kind of fighter.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, what you need. What's your thoughts on my man from Camden? Shout out to Camden. The white Muhammad Kawi and his defense and his size and the way he used, because he bung elements of the Philly shell in there as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but he Bob and Weaver though. He a Bob and Weaver. He more inside fighter.
That's similar. It's elements of it.
Yeah. He's super slick. Super slick.
So much smaller.
Coming forward too.
So much shorter. Yeah, his fight. I was watching his fight with
Holyfield.
Yeah, and his other fights. I was like, bro, he was way shorter. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Oh yeah. He had long arms though. Arms, but boy, that guy. The sad thing about it was when he became champion, he was still. I think he faced Holyfield when he was much older.
Right.
Much older.
Still,
but you see him when he was young, man. See, these guys never got fair shake when they were young. They never got it. They got the big fight later on in their careers, which is what it is. That. See, a lot of people don't know. That's why Floyd was fortunate in that he got his shot in his 30s, I think, and when he was 30, he got Oscar, right? Mm-hmm. But most of these guys are avoided and shunned because of their skill set. Look at Demetrius Andrade. They avoid him at the plate, right? Devin Haney right now is avoided like the plague. Terrence Crawford is avoided like the plague. You right? because they got a style that's very, very difficult to beat.
Exactly.
It's a very difficult style because they have the all-round game. They can fight on the inside, outside. They can fight deep in the pocket. Head to head. And on top of that, they got the slickness, so you can't just hit them like that. So it makes it very, very difficult to fight those kinds of fighters. Floyd's one of them, and you just go through the history of fighters. Mike McCallum was avoided because, again, the same thing. Too solid at defense. Everything starts with your defense. Everything starts with your feet, right? So when I hear people say, "Oh, he was running," like Erislandy Lara. "Oh, Lara was running, couldn't catch him." I'm like, what are you talking about? Your feet are part of your defense. Okay, he's moving around the ring a lot more than normal, but that's part of your defense, right?
Right.
Muhammad Ali, that's what his defense was, his feet. Roy Jones Jr., his defense was his feet. So it's really weird when I hear people say, "Oh, well, he's running." I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, he's moving a lot in the ring. That's where you have to find a way to cut him off. Cut him off. If you can't cut him off, and of course, Erislandy Lara, we've seen he could fight in the pocket as well as he could move around the ring if he wants to.
Right.
Right. So, Guillermo Regendow is another. He's fantastic. I mean, he's kind of limited by range, but he's a fantastic fighter.
Yeah.
And then you got, Pacquiao, Lomachenko, what's his name? Pacquiao, Lomachenko, Sergey Derevyanchenko. They're all the same kind of fighter, right? Because they fight with offense, but they're going around you. They step around, they step to the outside, they step to the inside. So, that's a different kind of fighter, and so on and so on. But it's really great. It's great to look at how Pacquiao style is a little bit different to Lomachenko style.
Right.
How Derevyanchenko style is different to the same kind of fighter, but just there's differences in how they approach things. So it's those kinds of things I like to analyze, like you said, and break down fights. I remember you were on Lion Killer's podcast, I think.
No, I haven't been on his podcast.
Okay, you weren't the person who was talking once upon a time about Andre Ward being pound for pound.
No.
I'm not pound for pound. Andre Ward being on the being inducted to the Boxing Hall of Fame ahead of James Toney, and you weren't giving any rationale about that. Wasn't you?
I did, but I wasn't. I don't think I've ever been on his. I never been on his panel before.
Okay, but you were the one making that argument by any chance, by the way, somewhere.
I will have to see. I will have to see it. If you got the thing, I can tell you, but I doubt it because
here's my argument for that, right?
James Toney, I don't know about that, man. That's kind of
James Toney is a hell of a fighter. I thought he should have been inducted before all of them.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that Andre Ward, well, I think they inducted him, even though James Toney actually retired in 2017. I thought he had retired before that, but he just retired the same year with Klitschko, Ward, and Floyd. They all retired the same year. What the funny thing about that is, I thought that James Toney was. Maybe they decided to induct the same. I don't even understand really, to be honest here, but I thought they probably would want to induct James Toney along with probably Roy Jones Jr. Like have them as a grap together.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that's what they do because Klitschko, Floyd, and Andre Ward were pound for pound 1, 2, and 3. They were in that order. They were in that order during their era, right? It was Floyd, then Ward, then Klitschko. So maybe that's the reason why they did it that way, because I can't see any other line.
A lot of that is opinion based, because if you break down Andre Ward resume and you break down Tim Bradley resume, it's almost the same. It's not. Andre Ward resume ain't superior to Tim Bradley's. I'm telling you, it's not. So it's like,
because Bradley got Pacquiao. Bradley's got Pacquiao. You got Marquez,
and he got Marquez, and he went overseas. He fought overseas and beat Junior Woodard.
Right. But remember, Pacquiao, when he fought Pacquiao and beat Pacquiao, whether you say controversial or not, Pacquiao was the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world when Timothy Bradley beat him.
Exactly.
So you can't get anything better than that.
Ones on there, Ruslan Provodnikov, when he was this, even though he called a crazy fight. I mean, he got he got a lot of people on there, and some
yeah.
people might say his resume is a little better than Andre Ward. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
so
But then Timothy Bradley might have a better resume, but does he fight better than Andre Ward? Absolutely not.
That's what I'm saying, though. So what do they go by? Fighting better, or they go by resume? Because
I think they calibrate the balance of the two,
so
and then how your performances were.
Did Cotto get elected this year?
No.
Cotto? Oh yeah, because I
was but let me just be honest with you. The inductees list was ridiculous.
Crazy.
Like we had Corrales on that list. We had freaking what's his name? Michael Moore was on that list. I mean, it was just ridiculous. Like the list was crazy. So, and they had to just pick 3.
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, but still, I really wanted to see James Toney on that list because James Toney deserves to be in the Boxing Hall of Fame.
Yeah, James Toney.
First time he's inducted. Yeah, he should be.
James Toney will get there, you know.
Yeah, I think because they changed the rules too. They have it now every 3 years. They're going to induct people into the Boxing Hall of Fame. Every 5 years.
Oh, they switched it instead of every year.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's every year, but like it takes you once you're retired for 3 years instead of 5.
Yeah. They're gonna switch it to 5, kind of like the certain other sports.
They switch it from 5 to 3, so they made it short.
Yeah, it's faster now. Oh, okay, so you can because 3 years go by quick. That's what I'm thinking. Like, damn, Tim Bradley. I remember everybody. I remember 2017. I was like, wow, everybody retired, and when the Hall of Fame thing come up, yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I think Bradley retired 2016, if I was not mistaken.
Yeah.
Was it?
So we'll see though. But I'm glad I got the kicker with you, man, and it was nice.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the invite. I always like it to kick it on some real boxing, whether it's the present, even non-boxing stuff. The past, I always like to kick it, man.
Well, let me ask you one question. Yeah. How do you feel about the security of your country right now, man?
How do I feel about the security of the country?
Yeah.
First you got to look at who actually really runs the country, because what appears on it's just like life. Like if you meet a female, the way she physically look is not who she really is. So if you look at America, if you look at all the politicians that's in place, that's not necessarily the full dynamics of what you're looking at. So a lot of people call it deep state. A lot of people call it whatever name you want to be. So it's people behind the scenes that pulls the strings. And we also understand that a lot of people have a lust for power. So if you have a strong lust for power and your goal is to create chaos, then it makes civilized world insecure. So no matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, because your character is not defined by your label. You can be a thief whether you're a Christian or a Muslim. So security of it, a lot of it is also affected by foreign entities, because we all notice the history of when you're born into the world with your social security number, you actually a business. So it's a lot deeper than that. So how secure it's going to be, we don't necessarily know. It's safe. Now, to make it actually even more safer, it's going to take a lot of different changes, because when you start speaking the truth, you become a threat. So say, for instance, if you had a business, but you was doing illegal things and you really attached to this business, and I found out that you was having this business, now I become a threat because you so attached to the position, even though you know you shouldn't be doing it, you might try to silence me. And you might, and if you got enough power and you own the media, you can make me look like I'm lying. So it's a lot of manipulation tactics that are happening right now. So the safety of it, it's as safe as it can be. It can definitely become safer, but people can't agree on nothing nowadays because people are so separated by labels. Because at the end of the day, whether you're religious or not, the same force that created Michael Jordan, LeBron, Georgie Benton, Muhammad Ali is the same force that created you. However, we've been brainwashed to think that we're so separate, so it prevents us from really having any sense of togetherness and moving forward.
Cool. I like that. Now, I've been part of a movement, but in Hollywood, Hollywood's pretty corrupt, as you know,
Mhm.
to effect change in Hollywood. But we're doing it one step at a time right now. Got a good brother who's kind of excommunicated somewhat to Hollywood, but we were
Okay.
able to press some. We were able to press as a group of people and get what we wanted there. Of course, it has nothing to do with race or anything. We just work together as a group and a community for justice and to see the right thing done. Of course, there's a lot of pushback. Of course, the media is used, like you said, as
Right.
a tool. And what they did to Dave Chappelle, for example, or they did to Wesley Snipes, for example. So you know, Dave is doing his thing now. And the beautiful thing about, I think, social media is you still have a voice out here.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's some clamps down on your freedoms to some degree, but it's still sort of open at the moment. Of course, they're gonna. If you look, in a way, it's preparatory for draconian measures, right? For the
Like,
one, this one world order, right?
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like the danger. There's all these little dangers. Like it could go one way, it could go the right wing way, it could go the left wing way. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of know how to play the. You have to move as a movement of truth, and you have to go straight forward with what you're doing, aware
Exactly.
of what's happening. So that's what I look at, because I'm not one way or the other,
I feel
but
you.
I do look for truth, like you said. And like what I'm seeing is a play on people who want the order to stay the way it is, and using them as a tool to try and drive another agenda forward. So it's that
Yep.
tricky little situation right now where we're at, where you have to watch out for suppression of freedoms, but at the same time, there are people who are saying freedom, 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 but they're actually being used as a tool to suppress the freedom the other way. So
Right.
either way,
It's a lot of
you know what I mean?
right. It's a lot of psychological techniques that they're using. A lot of techniques that they use in Nazi Germany that they're using. MK Ultra.
Right.
A lot of things that they're using. Especially, it's easier to implement them now because of social media. So they pump fear out
Right.
there. COVID-19 is an example. Whether believe the severity of it or not, it's
It's
obvious.
pretty severe. It's pretty severe. I come from a medical background. It is pretty severe, but I'm trying to educate people on the fact that you need to boost your immune system. That is the
Exactly.
key ingredient. Now, vaccines are cool, masks are cool, social distancing is cool, but they're not going to help you as much as if you take care of your body and you make sure you boost your immune system, because this thing will not come on you as harshly if your immune system is intact. So I think that's the message we have to continue to drum in people's heads about this thing, because people are relying on this wonder thing, which is a vaccine, and that's cool. I mean, the vaccine, I have nothing against the vaccine itself either. I knew we were suspicious
That's a
about what
great
was
live though. What you need because
we were suspicious about what was going into your body with the vaccine, but then when you see people and leaders and people taking it, it's kind of cool. What they're
see,
trying to get to is a certain threshold, a certain critical mass of people who are vaccinated, and therefore you get herd immunity. That's what they're pushing towards. Um, and so that's cool. I'm not mad about it. I looked into it and everything. I know I don't particularly want to get the vaccine because I'm fine, and I just want to make sure I don't spread the virus to somebody if I have it. But other than that, I'm
yeah,
cool with what they're doing. And I do have a certain confidence in the institutions around me, because I understand
hey,
the
that's
other way, swinging the other way is to have
live.
no confidence in the institutions.
We're gonna have
Either way,
to go live on that. We're gonna have to go live on that because that's a very great discussion. Make sure you hit Tommy Temper up and we'll link up.
yeah, man.
Leak the leader at Gmail. Make sure you get the Hangouts app and we'll link up. We can chat some more, man. Because you're
Good,
a
good,
very
good.
intelligent guy, and I like to talk to people that has their own unique perspective on things. Because I love to learn from people, even we disagree. Because we're going to disagree, but I'm the type
Oh
of
yeah.
person that's able to disagree with people and not feel like the person is attacking me and vice versa. We can agree to disagree, and that's a
Yeah.
great thing because you
Oh
can
yeah.
something that I could teach you something, hopefully. So yeah,
Yeah.
but keep doing.
I just try to explain to people though, in this post-internet world, there's ways to effect change, because one thing I can guarantee you, the people who have influence and power do is they try to listen to what we're saying, because they can't just remember there's a lot of human beings in the world, right? So
Right.
if they just try to pull a bold move, which they made a lot of movements and they got big moves, they got a lot of big moves and they got a lot of things done. But even so, with the 5G network and all that, I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying they did it behind our backs. But they pulled off a lot of stuff behind our backs while this COVID was going on. I would tell you that right now, right? But we're not stupid, but they need to have us complicit in that. If we're agreeing to what they're doing, but if we show, oh, I'm aware of what you just did, oh, I'm going to call that out, right? You don't have to be violent, but you do need to be educated. You need to have a united voice saying, we do not stand for this. And we've used different methods on social media, because social media tried to censor one of our individuals on LinkedIn. And when they said, when they closed down the guy's LinkedIn account, we said, all right, well, you don't want business with us. And we just withdrew all our LinkedIn accounts. It was like 40,000 LinkedIn accounts disappeared overnight. And LinkedIn put it back on. You understand what I'm saying?
Truth is a threat. So I try to see things. I'm sure a lot of people read the book Animal Farm in 1984. It's like that. See, a lot of people underestimate people that has a lust for power. You'd be like, oh, they wouldn't do that, or they wouldn't do that, or this is a conspiracy. So nowadays they manipulate people. So instead of them doing research and using logical thinking, they manipulate you and have you feeling like you're a bad person because you're a conspiracy theorist. Because it's like imagine you meet a female, right? She look good, but something in your intuition tells you something ain't right about her. She's not to be trusted. Is that a conspiracy theory? No.
No, it's just an intuition.
But the way they do it now, if they want, whatever information that's not popular and on a basic superficial level, they will make it seem like you're being a conspiracy theorist. You go beyond it using basic 1 + 2 logic. If a person was detective,
we were seen as cultists. They called the Snyder Cut members occultists. But then what are cultists doing raising money for example, people who have suicide prevention? What are cultists doing promoting arts and craft? You understand what I'm saying? Because they wanted to associate us with the Trumpers. And this is Hollywood doing this. And they push out articles after articles, and we still won. How did we win?
Let me ask you, what's the name of the thing that you're involved with?
All right, so I don't know if you remember in 2017, Justice League came out in the theater. No, it's a superhero movie.
I might have heard of it, yeah.
Right. So what happened was they actually kicked the director off. The studios have autocratic power in these places. It's not a democracy in Hollywood. Hollywood's controlled by, I don't even want to go there, but let's just say QAnon built their conspiracy theories off of what was happening in Hollywood.
Okay, let's stop right there.
So we could go deep on that.
That's what I prefer. That's what I'm saying. We use the word conspiracy theory beyond that. Like, say for instance, if I was taught one thing, right? Say if I'm born in an island somewhere, I'm not around a lot of people, and we was taught that this is the way things are. But if I get to the US and they're taught differently, what's considered a conspiracy theory? What's your definition of a conspiracy theory?
Anything. So you're going into what is your truth, my truth? Well, let me show you what I mean.
Yeah.
When the facts, you remember, it's a theory. It's not a law, right? So a conspiracy theory is an idea or a sentiment or a feeling that something is amiss, and this is the laid out explanation for it. It's not necessarily bad or good.
Okay.
It just needs to be confirmed.
Okay.
See, people always think conspiracy theory means negative, and that's because the CIA allowed that to be so. But that's okay. It's cool. You see, everything can have a bad history. Everything can start from a bad beginning. It doesn't mean it necessarily will tend towards a bad ending. So this is the way how I think. So basically speaking, just to break it down, a conspiracy theory is just an unconfirmed theory that needs to be tested out.
Let's stop right there. Who is the people that confirms whatever something is real or not? Because when we hold on, let me answer this, because when we start speaking of things, we have to realize I'm not no religious person, but when we start speaking on things and you start talking about the spiritual world goes beyond your five senses. I'm gonna say that again. The spiritual world goes beyond your five senses. So if you're always looking on the five senses, then you can't put things together. So who is the people that says, okay, this is what's there? The people in power? You get what I'm saying?
No.
The people that's what we say is real.
Have you ever seen whistleblowers?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I might have to watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it.
No, it's not a movie. It's not a movie. It's not a movie. I mean, do you know about whistleblowers?
Somebody said live from Latvia. So shout out to MG, shout out to CHS Combat Sports, everybody in the chat. Whistleblowers.
Coach Shelton Harris, man, what's up? MG from Latvia. All right. What I mean to say is, take for instance a whistleblower. A whistleblower says something that can be confirmed through, let's say, events after. I'm not going to go hyper spiritual right now. I'm just going to stay in this realm, right?
Go.
But let me show you something. One thing about truth, the difference between truth and lies is that truth will always show up and will always prove itself to be true. That means it will be verifiable, right? A lie does not last very long. That's why you got to make another lie to cover that lie, right? So let's take, for instance, a whistleblower, right? A whistleblower comes out and says X, Y, and Z. Now, the first thing you need to watch is how the reaction to that whistleblower, because that whistleblower is going to say something that's going to shake up everything, right? So if the reaction to a whistleblower is one in which it's very dismissive, it's like, right? Then you wonder to yourself, is this whistleblower telling the truth? Because this whistleblower going everywhere, on TV, everywhere, but it's still kind of just like nobody's paying attention to the whistleblower. That's interesting, right? Versus a whistleblower who people are trying to discredit, or there's constantly a pushback on that person. There's constantly an ostracization. There's constantly pressure put on this person to shut up. That's different, right? So these are some of the things we notice when truth is coming to the fore, right?
Okay.
We realize that somebody trying to cover up something, right? Every human being gets that sense within them. Right. So that's the start. Now, but the second thing is the content of what the whistleblower is saying. That will be proven to be true or false in time. If it's not true, then what they're saying wouldn't have certain things that will happen following it.
I got you.
But if they're saying something that is false, if they're saying something that's true, you're going to see the things that we're saying starting to happen. So these are some of the things that I do, because you always, no matter how spiritual something is, it has to be manifested. It has to manifest itself, right? Spiritual things must be manifested. So that means whatever is true will come out and show itself. A lie will never show itself because it's a lie. And you have to cover it up with another lie and another lie and another lie. And that's how you can start to weed through, because I was a researcher, that's why. So I process information, right? So you have to go through a whole bunch of information, and now you have to follow and decipher what is true from what is a lie. And here's the other thing, because right now we're dealing with a situation like that. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm really in that. We're in that moment right now.
What situation are you talking about?
The same thing with the movies and Hollywood right now. We're dealing with right now a lot of inequalities in the studio. It's going to change everything. It's going to change a lot of things about Hollywood.
Inequalities amongst who? Black people or?
See, people are the entertainment industry is a very dirty business. Okay. It's extremely dirty. Okay. And people are exploited left, right, and center. Okay.
Okay.
And it's not democratic. It's not democratic at all. Okay. It's autocratic. See what you see with, the Donald Trump issue. Donald Trump is just a showing of what has been happening in America in different ways. But the ideal of having everybody have a say, the ideal of fair governance, the idea of governance distributed through different, different partitions of governance, whether it's the legislature or the judicial system, whatever. That is an ideal. You see, we're not there yet, but we're trying to get there. That's the idea. And in my country, which is in the Caribbean,
which
it's a similar system.
Which country?
I'm Trinidad and Tobago, baby.
Oh, shout out to Trinidad. Yeah, shout out to Trinidad.
Yep.
Have you ever been in Venezuela? Do you have family in Venezuela?
No, but yes, I have family in Venezuela. I don't know them though. But we used to go to my mom, my uncles and stuff. They used to go to Caracas to buy things, come back. But right now, Venezuela's coming to us because they're trying to find refuge. They're trying to run away. So, but we controlling the COVID issue. We got it pretty good here. We're moving around. Masks are still
see me, yeah, because when it comes to the COVID thing, well,
I'm not a proponent of masks either.
Yeah, I don't wear
mainly because of my acid reflux, but I do understand that a mask can restrict you from spreading it, right? If I cough with my mask, obviously that could help. It's not going to eliminate it, but I mean, it could help. I mean, they have masks in countries and many places when there's things, sickness, illness, whatever. But I'm not a proponent of masks because I believe that the individuals, for them to be healthy, it calls for a lifestyle change. Health, and a lot of people are walking around dead. They just don't know it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because they're not living healthy lives. So I just believe that, but I do understand if you are within a very confined space with not much ventilation, you need something to protect, but you have to control that.
Let me ask you this, wouldn't that go against the laws of nature? Because besides water, isn't oxygen the #1 nutrient that we must have? So
absolutely,
absolutely have ventilation.
Yeah, but for a temporary moment in time.
But let's
say you're in an air-conditioned room. Let's say you're in an air-conditioned room. That's a different situation. Like I don't use masks all the time. And most of the people in my country don't use masks all the time. But if you have to go into some official place, I don't use masks, period. I actually use a shield because I like you said, I like oxygen. I like to breathe air. I don't know about other people.
What it is, we definitely gonna have to have a live. I like kicking it with you, man. You're a very intelligent, versatile young man, man. We'll definitely resume it. Make sure you get the Hangouts. We'll link up on the Google Hangouts, man.
Now still open?
Google Hangouts is, yeah, you still can do the chat on there. You just can't do the talk on there. Yeah, but I appreciate you. I appreciate the invite, man. Make sure y'all subscribe to him. Shout out to everybody that's gonna listen.
What's your channel?
Mine is just like my name, Jalik the Leader.
Okay.
Cool, yeah, man. Up there, it's Jalik the Leader. I got a channel.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna check out your channel and subscribe. What else do you do besides boxing?
I talk about all types of stuff. I got a series called Students of the Game. You'll see it on the channel. I talk about metaphysics. I talk about health and different things like that. Like, things that make you a better person. And I also like do interviews as much as I can. I got my dog on there, so I do a lot of different things. But you'll also see a lot of boxing stuff on there. You know what I'm saying? So I like to talk about different things, man. But I'm gonna subscribe, bro.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna check you out right now. Jalik the Leader, right?
Leader. If you type it in just like how it shows up there, Jalik and the Leader, all one word, you'll see it.
Yeah, man. Well, maybe we could agree. Do you excuse me, I'm coughing because of reflux.
Yeah.
Do you also host your own hangout and live stream?
Yeah.
Cool. All
yeah.
Right. Cool.
You're welcome to join. That's Tommy Temper. Just look up with Tommy Temper.
All right, cool, man.
Yeah, we'll link up, bro. We'll learn.
Yes, man.
All right, bro. Take it easy.
You have a blessed one. You too.
Right,